Oh dear, I'm sorry, I was muted. Well, here I'm chattering away and nobody can hear me. And nobody said anything. We're without sound. There it is. Oh dear. I'm not hearing anything, no sound. Well, you all did say something. I just didn't look. I was muted. I don't know why that happened. Anyway, I don't know if I can backtrack now. Um, I was just saying that a lot of us have been over on Discord this morning chattering away on a number of issues and are now coming over here to the live stream. We do expect eventually, once I can figure out how to do it, to be able to get the live stream on Discord. It is possible to do it. I just haven't figured it out yet. Um, anyway, some folks are having trouble with plattings, and we're trying to get hold of Stephen to see if he can come out and help. But there are a series of problems with platies, as well as a number of other common so-called bread and butter kinds of fish. And the problem is that they are so inbred that they become very susceptible to anything that comes along. And very often they're shipped off the farm with various diseases. So it is a problem getting good quality. Generally, I would recommend. Oh, excuse me. Oh. I thought I had that cleared up. Is that better? That's a little better. Generally, I recommend if you're going to be buying fish, particularly common fish, try to get them from another hobbyist who has a good, healthy strain. You can't always be sure of what you're getting when you buy such things in a big box store. By and large, most retailers, both the big box stores and the local fish stores, buy their fish. They all buy their fish from the same 2 or 3 places. There are 2 or 3 primary suppliers that provide nearly everything. Now, there are smaller providers of specialized fish, and also some local providers who seek to build a business, wholesalers, who are building their business based on their reputation and their ability to provide quality fish. The difficulty is that the major suppliers have very little control over what comes in. They're buying primarily based on price. They're rarely buying based on quality. The highest quality products are generally not available through the local, through any of the wholesalers, unless you're buying direct from a farm. And even then, you can easily get into trouble. The only real solution for this is what we have been creating here on YouTube and what's being done on Aquabid and on Get Kills for that matter. These are all local hobbyists and some international breeders who are providing fish that are of the highest quality. Now, the only way you know that is through their reputation. So it becomes important to track reputation. Here on YouTube, we've got a pretty good handle on that. We know who's handling good fish and who's not. On Aquabid, there's a system in place for being able to leave comments about suppliers. And you can get a pretty good idea of the quality of someone's product by reading the comments about them and looking at their ratings. So I really recommend, if you're going to be serious about your hobby, that you spend the extra few dollars for shipping and get something that you have reason to believe is going to be healthy, and that is in any case guaranteed. It's not to denigrate the local fish store. Your local fish store may in fact be very conscious of this situation and be very careful about who they buy from. And they may be dealing with, for example, a lot of local hobbyists. When I had Fatther Fish Aquarium, I was always delighted when local hobbyists brought their fish in, because invariably they were healthier than anything I could get from a wholesaler. For example, angels. I actually never bought an angel from a wholesaler. All of my angels came from local breeders. I was confident about them. I knew them. I'd been in their homes, in their fish rooms, had seen what they were doing, and was perfectly satisfied with the quality I was getting from them. Same thing was true with live bearers, platies, mollies, and the like. Whenever I could get live bearers from a local hobbyist, I knew I was going to be getting something that was going to be healthy and was not going to be carrying disease. That is often not the case with fish that come from a major supplier. So just kind of a word to the wise. Try to be conscientious about where you're getting your fish and try to get them. And this is especially true now that the industry is maturing and there are more people in it, and there's a glut of fish coming through the system. A lot of them are simply not quality bred, quality raised. A lot of these fish are grown out in wild dirt ponds where there's no particular interest in paying attention to things like their diseases or other problems. They work on the percentages. Whatever survives is what they're able to sell. And when you can raise 100,000 fish in a pond and 10,000 of them survive, and you can get half of that to market at 10 cents a piece, well, you've made your $500 to $5,000 on that pond. If you got 100 ponds and you're doing that every 3 to 6 months, well, you can see how the numbers work. There's not really adequate attention paid to quality and more attention paid to quantity. So again, try to get your fish from people who you know, people who you can trust. Buy online when you can. Shipping is excellent. Shipping is rarely a problem. And any shipper, anybody who's shipping here is going to guarantee their fish. I'm shipping 3 and 4 days native fish I'm suffering no losses. The fish do fine in the box 3 or 4 days. Just not a problem. So I'll tell you what, let me get over to YouTube on chat and see if I can get to live chat. And we will see where we're at. I do have a link at the top. Excuse me. I am entertaining co-moderators, assistants, if you will, somebody to help with the chat. So if you'd like to come on up and plug in for a bit and help out, the first person who works out well will get the job. Not a paying job, but a job nevertheless. The stream is working on Discord, Tam says. Oh, really? I did plug it in. That's interesting. Let me jump over there real quick. Let's see. I guess if you turn it on, yeah, let me jump over there real quick. Let's see. Yeah, the problem is it's in the chat, and I need to be able to set it up so that it'll stay up and the chat will be able to continue to function with the screen still up. I got about halfway into figuring it out. I'll get it worked out. Eventually, we'll make it happen. Let's see. Let me get back over here. Hi, Chevy Fish. Chevy Fish is here. Tam Shepherd. What else have we got? Sunset Jen. Drop by on her way to bed. Well, nice to see you, Sunset. On Discord, how will I know when I get a private message? If you look at the top bar, there are if you get a private message, it'll show up in that top bar right alongside where it says Fish Talks, right on the top bar. There'll be a little number up there. Emily Stevens. Hi, Emily. Jason said an elf will appear out of nowhere and slap you in the face. Yeah, that too. That's less common. That only happens to people like Jason, actually. Grand Fish Keeper. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you. Tori. Hi, Tori. Tori Rogi, good morning. Who else? Marky, Patrick. Excuse me. Tristan backwards. Hello, Father Fish. What are your thoughts on Undergravel filters? Are they compatible with the Father Fish method? Love your vids. Thank you and take care. And of course not. No, they're not compatible at all. In fact, they're counterintuitive. In fact, they do just the opposite. The whole idea is to keep the water flowing, keep the water from flowing through the substrate. That's the purpose of the 2 inches of sand, to slow that down to a level where where the water is effectively dissipating, or the particulate matter is dissipating into the sand, falling down through the water column. You want the water column moving at the speed of the cilia of the that are spinning on the little animals living in the sand. the speed at which they're able to create a water current, which is negligible, is the speed at which you want water flowing through. And the reason for that is really very simple. You want to create an anaerobic layer. So the whole notion that anaerobics are a terrible thing is actually stupid, because without anaerobics, waste does not break down. In point of fact, without anaerobics, plants cannot take up nutrition. The cilia on plants actually create little tiny microscopic anaerobic pockets where waste is broken down so that they can assimilate it. So anaerobics are absolutely fundamental and key to your system being able to balance. In a deep, in an undergravel filter system where there is gravel, the longer that system is set up, the more channels are created. Now, channels are areas where the water is flowing around pockets of detritus that have built up. And those pockets have created, guess what? Anaerobic pockets, which is where the roots are all going. The roots are digging into that. If you have an undergravel that's been set up with 2 or 3 inches of gravel on it, been set up for a year or more, when you pull that out, you'll notice that the plants are all packed around certain areas. That's where the detritus has packed in and no longer allows water to flow through it naturally, and creates an anaerobic pocket where the roots feed in and are able to develop and to take up nutrition. So even in an undergravel filter, you get the opportunity, the potential for a balanced aquarium. It just takes longer and is a little less secure. The other problem, of course, with it is you're running water past waste, past essentially deteriorating waste, running water past that all the time. So you're getting all that up back into the water column. So it has the effect of increasing nutrition in the water column, which causes what? Causes algae growth. Also causes bacteria blossom. It causes diseases, causes all kinds of problems. So I do not recommend undergravel filters. Now, you can have an undergravel filter system and you can be effective. I'm not speaking to the experienced, skilled hobbyist who, in point of fact, could maintain an aquarium with boulders that would be stable and secure and solid and healthy. Not discussing this issue on that level. The reality is, with adequate skill levels, you can do anything. You can do anything at all. You can maintain your fish in a bare bottom tank. You can maintain your fish with 6 inches of marbles. You can maintain your system any way you choose to if you have the skill to be able to maintain it. Barring that, and barring the persistent and consistent support and involvement that you need to have with a more difficult system, if you want something that is simple, clean, dependable, does not require much in the way of personal involvement, is not labor intensive, then you really want to do a deep substrate. You want to do a mulm tank, and you want to cap it with sand because the capping is really the key to it. Capping is the part that was left out in the earlier attempts to create dirted tanks. They didn't understand the importance of being able to keep that dirt layer and everything that goes on in it down under the sand and separate it from the water column. And that's really the purpose of the sand, is to separate the biological activity going on in that substrate from the water column. I don't know how we got off track there. Undergravel filters. Oh, well, there you go. Tristan did it. Let's see if we have any more questions here. Good morning, Father Fish. Chris Trapp. This is interesting. What's your opinion on the correlation between heating the tank and longevity? Really, really good question. Yesterday, Grant was talking about keeping his shrimp cooler because they lived longer. The warmer they were, the better they did in some respects, particularly in terms of breeding, but the shorter they lived. It's the same with food. The smaller the amount of food that are fed to the fish, the longer they live, because it takes less stress off the organs. With temperature, the balance for me is being able to maintain a tank that is relatively free of stress and disease, bacteria and parasites. And that means a slightly elevated temperature. I recommend 82 degrees as a stable temperature where most tropicals will do well, will be healthy, will be active. They may live 6 months less, but they're going to have a better quality of life. You can maintain your temperature at 70 to 75, but you're likely to run into problems. You're likely to have problems with ick, for example. That's easily the most common problem that people have with cooler temperature tanks, because the ick is a cold water parasite and it loves being in cooler water. It detests being in warmer water. So that's one good reason to keep the temperature up, to control ick and other parasites. On balance, I choose a warmer temperature to a colder one because I think there's less risk of related problems related to maintaining fish in colder water systems. Good question, Chris. Oh, Tam is saying the stream is streaming on Discord in the background. Okay. I'll have to get over and see that. If we got it working, I'm delighted. But I was just over there, and I saw it working in the chat, but not working outside the chat as a freestanding screen. And I know it's possible to do that because I did it yesterday, but I couldn't figure out how I did it. So, you ever do that? You ever do something, you're struggling with something, and you make it happen, and then you can't figure out how you got there. So you can't, once it's gone, you can't get back to it. That's the learning process for me.
The learning curve is a sine wave of up and down, up and down. Eventually, I get there, but it often takes a while. James Handy, fish farms and wholesalers don't believe in spending money on meds, cuts into profit margins. Yeah, absolutely true. There are some exceptions. They're rare exceptions, but there are exceptions. Generally, what a farmer will do is he'll clear out his pond, pull fish in, set them up in vats, and that's where he'll medicate in the vats if he needs to. He doesn't medicate the ponds. It's kind of meaningless to do it because it's such a huge amount of water. You really can't accomplish much. But they do medicate vats. What happens then is you're getting fish that have been stressed by meds. So it's kind of a difficult issue. If you think about it, getting fish that have been raised in small numbers is going to be vastly superior to getting fish that have been raised in very large numbers. There will be more attention paid to each individual. You're more likely to have really healthy, vigorous fish. So again, getting your fish from, and if your local fish store is breeding fish, and some do, that's a good opportunity to be able to get some really quality fish. Unfortunately, most of the local fish stores have gone the way of trying to be a big box store, trying to move huge volumes of product. And in the process of doing that, you lose quality. You lose control over the quality. Maintaining a smaller stock count. This was the lesson that was taught by Ennis back in the 30s, the 1930s, when he talked about setting up a local fish store. He said, don't buy 100 of a fish from a wholesaler. Buy 20 or 30, even 10 or 15. Buy a smaller quantity. You'll be able to keep them healthier, better. You're not going to have the problems of overcrowding that cause disease. You'll be able to pay attention better, and you'll be able to get a better quality product. Well, that's fine for somebody whose overhead is their garage or their basement. But when it gets out into brick and mortar, the fixed costs can run you ragged. So I tried to do it and found it was difficult. And it wasn't that I couldn't make money at it. I could make money at it. I simply chose not to. I chose to put all of the profits back into it. For what reason, I can't even begin to imagine, except it was fun. And I really enjoyed doing it. And I think that's why. When it stopped being fun was when I got too old and too tired and too weak and too stiff and sore to be able to get around and take care of it all. And then had to hire people to do it. And that didn't work out. Just didn't work out. So that's really why I backed off from the shop. Let's see. Oh, Lee is here. Hello, Lee. Nice to see you. Walthroo. How about a crusade against blue gravel? Yeah, I'm with you, Walthroo. I'm going to give you a wrench over that one. That's absolutely worth turning you blue. Stephen said, I would not go on a crusade against gravel. I have over 30 gravel tanks, but I know what I'm doing. New hobbyists usually do not. I also have just as many deep substrate tanks. Amen, Stephen. Amen. If you know what you're doing, you can do it. You can do anything you want to do.
You don't have to do a deep substrate. You can do a bare bottom tank. I don't care. But if you're killing your fish, this is a way for you to be able to stabilize it and get it working right and be happy. Also, it works really well for people with MTS because it allows you to ignore that tank for 6 months if you need to. Stephen, we had somebody come in over on the chat, over on Discord, who is having a problem with platies. We've been talking about it a bit here today. You might want to take a look at that and see if you can be of some assistance. Stephen Cooper, how much evaporation before I tap off my aquariums? Funny you should ask. That much. That's really too much. Topping off is difficult for me because I have to go outside a half a dozen times to turn the water on, turn the water off, bring the hose in. It's just a mess. So I do it when I get to the point where I can't survive anymore without doing it. So that's too much evaporation. That's about 20%, 10%, half of that. It's a point at which you should be adding water. Now, keep in mind, if you have high evaporation and you're constantly adding water to cover for evaporation, and your water source is your tap or your natural water source, pay attention to what's in that water. If your general hardness is very high, if you have hard water, in other words, that hardness, those dissolved minerals, are not going to be evaporating when the H2O gas is off. They're going to be staying right in there. And so in time, you'll wind up with increasingly hard water, particularly if you're topping off with more hard water. You might consider buying RO water or spring water or distilled water as a top off. The best solution is to pull down 25% and do a water change, or barring that, put a piece of glass on top of your tank so you don't get the evaporation. If you have very high evaporation, which I do here, I need to cover these tanks in order to preclude that. I have a tank sitting over here that's well covered and never gets evaporation, so it never becomes a problem. The 40, I took the lid off and have lost it. I need to find it and put it back on so that I can stop the evaporation there, and then get covers for these guys in order to forestall that. So that's the best solution, is to cap everything with glass. Now, if you like having plants growing up out of the tank, that's a whole other can of worms, and you're not going to be able to cap that as easily, or cover it, I should say. So you'll need to make other changes. Probably the best way to deal with that then is simply to do water changes routinely. What in the world have I done here? I've managed to lose the stream. Oh dear. I do need the Fatther Fish Farm, Fatther. That's curious, dear. I do need, now I'm talking to myself, right. There we go. Top chat. Live chat. Stephen, liquid CO2, shouldn't need it. But the question is, what is liquid CO2? This is very good. The deep substrate method with enough stock should be able to sustain itself for a long time without intervention. It's absolutely right. And in point of fact, a deep substrate creates CO2. That's what it's doing down there. It's creating carbon dioxide, which the plants are taking up through their roots. It also allows a certain amount of it to get into the water column. In point of fact, a deep substrate creates far more CO2 than a mechanical system is capable of putting into the water. And it doesn't change the pH, which injected CO2 does. What is liquid CO2? It's called, I don't have it here, carbonated water. It's carbonated water. That's what it is. You want to put CO2 in your tank? Buy the little 6-ounce bottles of soda water. A 6-ounce bottle of soda water and pour it in the tank. And you will have CO2 in your tank. If you do half of that in 40 gallons every 3 days, you will be maintaining a CO2 system that will be as effective as anything you can spend $500 on. Just saying. Saran wrap clean film as a temp solution, Lee's talking about. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it works really well because it really seals the tank. It gets a little messy when you're moving it back and forth to feed fish routinely. But if you don't do much of that, then it's less of a problem. I buy jugs of water from Petco, Emily says, and then reuse for water changes. 2.5 gallon jugs. It's a nice sized jug, yeah. So what water are you buying? Facebook forum, Stephen's talking about. Yeah, they are brutal. I don't do them. Waltz through. I use CO2 so I can trim and throw away plants instead of doing water changes. Seems like a fatherfish no-brainer, but would get me shot on discus forums. Yeah, well, evaporation equals water change for James Handy. Sure enough. Hey, Kenny. Nice to see you. Good to have you with us. Christina Whitaker, my Julia eyes are trying to breed since I moved them into my dirted tank. I've had them for 3 years, and they never did that before. Well, there you go. Let's see. If you top off, doesn't the water get harder and harder? Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point. If you have hard water, it's just going to get harder. And I'll tell you what will happen. It happens more with salt water than fresh, but it'll reach the point where you won't be able to keep new fish in the tank. The old ones will do fine because they've gotten used to it, but the water will be so exotic that new fish won't be able to survive in it. Less so with fresh water than with salt water. Much truer with salt water. How many platies can I put in a 29-gallon tank with a deep substrate, Jordan? Fish tank says. Depends how many plants you have in there, Jordan. The more plants you have, the more fish you can have. If you've got it so planted, so thick, you can't see through it, you can put that many fish in. So there you go. The more plants you have, the more fish you can have. What do we have? We got 65 people watching and 45 thumbs up. We need a little action there. Let's see. This is the school bell. The school bell. Thumbs up, everybody. Thumbs up. Let's see. Landon home. Had 2 shrimp pass in the past week. No losses until now. Had them for months. You might check your water parameters. It's possible that they've gotten a bit out of kilter. That can happen over a period of time. Don't know what kind of shrimp you have, so can't advise you as to what your parameters ought to be. But check and act accordingly. Let's see. Doobie-doo. Guppy grass galore guy. I had to count my fish during feeding since they had so many hiding places due to tons of guppy grass. You reach the point where you give up trying to count them. Stephen, don't get me wrong. I've done the full CO2 system. I've also tested the full system against adding just carbonation and iron. Same effect at a fraction of the cost. Liquid iron, soda water gives you everything that the most expensive injection systems can give you. Marginal differences. Marginal. It's a perfect example. The quintessentially perfect example of building systems to generate income on the part of the mercantilist class, building systems to generate income when very simple procedures achieve exactly the same result. And I don't know why I keep beating this drum. Except, I guess, to make the option available to people who really don't want to spend $250 on some kind of fancy system to do something that they could do for a nickel and rather spend that money on fish, tanks, plants, and the like. I don't know. If money is no object, then money is no object. If money is an object, if you're constrained by money, then you need to find ways of doing things that are less expensive, that are simpler and cheaper. They're virtually free in many cases, and that free you up to be able to do more with your hobby. Like that. I think one of the things I've noticed about every hobbyist, every single hobbyist who has been around and been keeping fish for longer than 10 years. 10 years seems to be a kind of a point in time where the hobbyist finally figures out how to be able to maintain their hobby without spending very much, if any, money. And that's kind of the key getting in, but you don't figure that out until you figure out there are a whole lot of things you do not need to buy in order to be able to maintain your systems. And it takes years sometimes to get to that point where you realize, you don't need that fancy filter or that protein skimmer or that $500 light fixture in order to be able to do what you want to be able to do. But you kind of have to go through the process, I guess, before you get there. We're just trying to shorten it up a bit for those guys who are interested. Steven says a deep substrate is the cheapest and easiest. And it is indeed. It's just exactly that. It is the cheapest way to set up a tank. It is the simplest way to set up a tank. And it is absolutely the most dependable, consistent, healthiest, effective way to set up a tank. And there are those on YouTube who I wish I could share that little secret with, because it would make their lives so much better. Fatther Fish Mug. Get your very own Fatther Fish Mug for only $25 to PayPal. You may have your very own Fatther Fish Mug with 2 pictures, not one. One of the Fatther Fish Aquarium frontage and Fatther Fish himself, alive and well. It holds hot and cold. How do I want to say this? Hot and cold. It holds strong and weak. It holds it all. Fatther Fish Mug for you. And I'm empty. Right back. I'm going to heat this up in the microwave. I need to clean my microwave. What time is it? 10:18. We're in good shape. We got ways to go. All right. I gotta get back into enjoying this. I've been not enjoying it for a while. Need to start enjoying it again. It can be fun. And it often is. Stephen, delighted to have you here this morning. Lee, good to have you. And Kenny, happy to have you. Guppy Grass Galore guy. So many fabulous people here. Caroline, Walsrue, Landon, Chris Trapp. What was the biggest aquarium I ever had, and what were the challenges in maintaining it? Great question, Chris Trapp. The biggest aquarium I ever had. Let me think. I believe it was the 500 that I had in the shop. I'm trying to remember, I've worked with bigger tanks, but they were not mine. I worked with much bigger tanks at the Baltimore Aquarium, 10,000 gallon tanks, but they were not my tanks. The biggest one I ever had, I rather expect, was the 500. What were the challenges in maintaining it? Well, the biggest one was reaching down in it to plant plants. You had to get into it to do anything. That was the problem. But beyond that, it was a very, very easy tank to maintain. I kept about 8 inches of sand. I never dirted it. I wanted to set it up when I got it. I should tell you the story of that tank because it has an interesting pedigree. It came from Tim. And Tim was an old friend. Tim has passed on. Tim had been keeping fish all his life. And many years ago, he acquired some tanks that the old moat was getting rid of. They were tanks built by a company out somewhere in the middle of Florida that still makes those tanks. They're fiberglass, wood frame fiberglass with a glass front. This one was 10 feet long, 3 foot high, maybe 40 inches tall, and 24, well, about 30 inches deep. 2.5 by 3, 6, 7, 78, 5. Yeah, that's about right. He acquired several of them. That was the biggest one. And he gave that to me at a point where he really wanted to see it in the shop. He used to come into the shop once or twice a month and bring in two big buckets of Sagittarius, solid full of big, beautiful 5 foot long Sagittarius plants, which I sold for, I think I started selling them for $1, wound up selling them for $5. Magnificent plants. We still have those. Robert has gotten them, and he has them going in his ponds now. So I was able to keep them. I need to get in touch with him and try to get some from him. I've got this 55 has a couple in it. These are some of the sag from that. I think they're sag from that population of plants. Anyway, he gave me that tank. I really never had a problem with it. When I got it in, I wanted to set it up as a some kind of a river system with small fish in it. But I had a lot of big fish at the time, and it was simply the only way to responsibly deal with that was to put them in the biggest tank I had. So I wound up with big fish in that tank the whole time I had it. Wound up selling it to a young man with a big fish collection, somebody who's going to have it for years and years to come. So I felt very good about him being able to purchase that from me and to be able to maintain a lot of fish in it. The fish behind me, Joe Braddock wants to know, in here, let's see if we got a close-up of them. Can't get too close, I don't think. Those are the blue, iridescent blue rams and rhinos, rhinoceros cichlids. That's a male at the top, and the others are small electric blue. The electric blue rams in this tank are a pair of rainbow cichlids and one Rio convict. There's a catfish down there somewhere as well. And the other tanks are natives. These are a pair of blue line killies, blue fin killies. And the others are a pair of golden top minnows. There's one of each. Like that. Oh. James Henning, nobody can help with my short pearlweed. Guess I'll let it grow some more than plant it. Well, yeah, that'll work. Let's see. Tisha, try to do a filterless tank. If you start, oh my goodness. Well, Lee, all right, here it is. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you too. Lovely to see everyone. Look, no more mucking about from me, okay? This lockdown thing has sent me bonkers, and I've been a little bit too outrageous, and I've upset a load of people. It was never my intention. That's all stopped. We're out of lockdown, and I just want to say to everyone, I'm back in counselling. They found me very, very manic when I first turned up, and they brought me back to ground, back to earth, and the jester has gone, and it's just me now, just me, very passive. Sue and I are still preparing to move. If I look a bit odd, it's because I'm looking at the television. I'm looking at Fatther Fish, and the camera's in my hand.
Right.
So I'm holding the camera, and you've got one of those mirror effects now. So
yes, that's right. Seeing you.
Yeah, it's like having two mirrors, one behind and one in the front. So I apologise to everyone, and it's lovely to see Stephen here. I know I poke tremendous amount of fun at him, only because I think he's a superhuman being and he can take it. But don't go away.
I'm getting my coffee.
You're getting your coffee. Yeah. You were talking about that mug of yours. Hey, and everyone, I've got two. I've got the original and I've got the Mark 2.0. I've got two. And
Right.
even though he said they do hot and cold, he only likes the hot. So I just wanted to say hello, and I've missed you. And it's I was supposed to go and pick Sue up earlier. She phoned me, "You coming to get me?" And I said, "Yeah." "What are you doing?" she asked me. I said, "Oh, Father Fish is doing a daily stream." And she said, "I'll get a cab home. You stay and watch." Right? How lovely was that?
What a dear.
And well, we've been missing your nighttime ones, well, because they're nighttime for us. So
Yes.
we've been missing you all. That's all. That's all it is. Silly old me missing all of you lot.
Amen. Missing you too.
Oh, bless you.
Come on over to Discord. Everybody over there is asking for you. You could be a little freer over there.
I'm still, like I say, I'm still going through counselling, and I need to make sure that I can be trusted. I need to be able to trust myself, because when I get excited and then people laugh, I get worse and worse and worse and worse, and you all know it. And the comedy store that I used to frequent on a Wednesday night is opening again next week, and I still have my 1 hour slot.
Wonderful.
So I can let out all of that nonsense and that naughtiness on the paying public, and not on fish forums where I should know better. So I'll go spit it out. I will come back to Discord when I know I can be trusted.
Amen. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. I'll go now. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you. It's been over a month, and
yes,
I really have missed you all. Thank you so much for having me back, and I promise to be good. No more Gollyman. He's gone. He's
all
gone.
right.
Wednesday nights only, 10 o'clock at the Wedgwood Rooms on Albert Road.
Video it. Video. We want to see it.
Yeah, okay. All right.
All right.
You asked for it. You'll get it.
Love you.
Love you so much. I love you all. Thank you, Stephen, for putting up with me. If I could start naming everyone, Petro Manjo, I know I'm going to do it. Monster Fish Gal, come on, James Mandy. I mean, I'm going to miss everyone, and then they're going to be upset that I didn't name them. So, because I'm excellent, and if I don't name everyone, you won't feel so important. I said Gollyman was gone. Stop it. I'm going. Bye. I'm getting excited. I'm excited because I feel the love. Bye.
Bye. Mercy. Probably one of the most important people to me on YouTube is Lee, because he is the one who got me started talking with YouTubers. And I'll tell the story sometime. It's really kind of sweet, kind of delightful. I'm happy that he's getting the help he needs and getting control. He's a remarkable man. Just as a little sidebar, Lee was one of the top techno-computer scientists in the world, and was also extremely physically active. Did
uh, bicycling, doing huge leaps and jumps and so forth, and wound up in an accident that caused severe brain injury, which caused him to lose his ability to function as a professional and also to be, as you can tell, pretty imbalanced a lot of the time. And his struggle has been to try to achieve balance and try to achieve some normality that allows him to function in wholesome society, which can be a struggle for him. But he is a deeply loving man, a genuine man who suffers a very debilitating injury, or worse than that, condition that will be with him the rest of his life. So I beg on his behalf your indulgence. Stephen, you got this lever here if and when needed. You bet. James, Andy still love you. Tisha saying as soon as he moves, she wants to send him a beautiful card. Let's see. James said Gene Campbell, the pearl weed, came in a plant pot with rock wool, the tallest stem of an inch. I think a bit short to transplant. I'm letting it grow some more. It may not grow in the rock wool is the problem, because there's no nutrition in there, or at least it washes out very quickly. You may need to transplant it. The roots will find nutrition. Don't worry about it being too short. Push it down in there an inch if you can. It'll do better in the sand than it will in the rock wall. So, Lee, be sure to read all the comments. Lots of folks speaking to you directly. T likes my shirt. Thank you. I try to wear a different one every day. It doesn't get to be expensive because I buy them cheap, but they're kind of neat. And after wearing the same black shirt every day for 15 years, I decided to make a change. The court jester, yes, indeed. Well, we have another guest here. Pootie Tang. I have never met Pootie Tang, who is showing us his or her tank. Well, that's nice. It's very shallow substrate. You got some dirt piled up in the corner for the sword. That's good. Pretty looking tank. What's happening with that angel? He doesn't look happy at all.
I don't know. This just started within the last hour.
Wow. What's your pH in there?
Like 6.8.
There's something else wrong. I would. It looks to me like it's stress. I would take him out and put him in new water. Your regular, whatever it is, regular tap water minus the chlorine. Don't try to feed him. Just see if that'll bring him around. He may snap out of it. It looks like a stress function. Stephen, what do you think? Are you still here? I think he may be. Stephen, I hope he's still here. Yeah, Chris says it looks like it's dying. Doesn't look good, does it? Yeah. T-Bone says, same with me. I have bipolar and manic depression. Suicidal thoughts, it's a struggle, you bet. Lee is replying back. Let's see if we can get Stephen to look at this. He may be gone that quickly. Let me see if he's over in... Stephen, are you here? Let's
See if he's in Discord. Do you have a little tank you can set up, a bowl, something with new water in it? I would get him out of that water. That's the first thing.
Yeah. And what's up with everybody hanging out at the top of the water too?
Well, there's something wrong with water. It may be, you may have an oxygen deprivation. Do you have O2 going? I mean, do you have air flowing or water flowing? I see water movement on the top. So you got a filter.
I've got canister filter.
Right.
I've got the jet going for surface movement. And
you don't have an air stone. It's possible that your sump has become toxic and is pulling O2 out of the water, pulling oxygen out. Stevens, have you checked the parameters? You need to check
every day.
Yeah. Can you set up a little bowl or something with new water in it and put him in it?
I can probably
Or put him in a different tank.
fill this back up.
Just something small. Right away, instantly. Like in the next 15 seconds. What's that, salt? Pretty.
This is salt.
Yeah. Take him out and put him in that half-filled tank.
Alrighty.
Just do that right now.
All right. I'll jump off.
Okay. Keep us posted. It's stress. There's something wrong with the water. I would do a major water change. Do about a 50% water change in there, and then clean out that canister. Canister filter. Just do a total redo on the canister. Something is burning off oxygen in there. Yeah, abolish saying full of water change. Yeah. Yeah, Stephen is saying once it's had a system failure, it won't recover. I think you're probably right. And that is a total system failure, isn't it? But it's going to happen to everything else in there if you don't get on it pretty quick. Pull half of the water out, refill it from the tap, and then pull that canister filter off, clean it, and reset it. I don't think he's got ammonia, Chevy. I mean, he could, certainly. Actually, not a bad thought. It could be ammonia. Ammonia neutralizer. Stephen says you need to alter the concentration to lower its system rapidly to reduce the stress. You're on a timer. Yeah. Wow. Scary stuff. Rare recovery. Yeah, it's typically the water parameters reach a point where the fish simply cannot survive it. And at that point, they need to get out of there and get in different water instantly if they're going to be any chance of being able to recover from it. He's got another angel in there. It hasn't hit yet, but it's gonna. So make sure you do a 50% water change in that tank. Disconnect the canister filter, clean it out, and hook it back up. I would also put an air stone in there. Try to get some air going. It'll just add to the circulation. My hunch is that the canister filter is fouled on you, and it's causing either what Chevy said, an ammonia spike, or it's draining O2, and it could be both. Chevy, put your comment back up. You were right on target. I jumped before I thought. You were absolutely right about ammonia. It's a critical thing to pay attention to. And in point of fact, if as I said, the canister failed, that's exactly what it would be doing, is producing excess ammonia. You need to get in my face, Chevy. Oh dear. Let's see what else. Parameters may be fine in terms of ammonia and nitrates, but there are other compounds and conditions that are not tested for. The fish is what tells you it's not those parameters. It's something. Yeah. One of those dying in 5 minutes things. Happens fast, Christina says. Didn't look like a new tank, but almost like you just set it up or something. The way the fish is acting seems like the tank's dead or new microwise something. Yeah. Lower the angel system. Yeah, he's got to get it out of there. Move it, T-Bone. Move the fish. Get it out. How we doing here? We got about 15 minutes. Whew. Anytime you have a fish going down fast, the most effective method of slowing it down and having a chance of saving it is slowing its response system down as slow as you can get it. That stops the... Yeah, and the way to do that is get the fish out and put it somewhere else. The organs from overworking and failing trying to save itself. Bath salt, yeah. I think what I would want to do in that case is do a very fast major water change in there. James, angels had similar accidents, died quickly, one after the other. Did a 75 water change, and that's 75% water change, and it seemed to work. Yeah, there's something going on with the water. Chevy, if it's ammonia, adding a neutralizer would help, but you need an air stone for more O2 in the water. Yeah, exactly. Stephen, get it out of that water. New water with salt concentration. That'll slow down the metabolism enough to give it a chance to maybe snap back. Put a tablespoon or two of salt in that other tank where you're moving him to. and then put the other angel in there, and then do a 50% water change on that tank and clean the canister filter. Guppy grass added 2 breeding angels to my new 20G high after it's cycled. How often should I feed them? And should I do a lot of water changes? Cycled for 3 weeks. You don't need to do a lot of water changes. If all you got is 2 breeder angels, try to feed them high protein food. Feed them worms if you can get them. Some other kind of frozen something. Frozen brine shrimp. Frozen bloodworms. Just don't overfeed. And you won't need to worry about water changes. 20 high with a pair. Don't know what you've got for substrate. You can do 10% water change a week. That's not going to hurt anything, and it'll help maintain stability of all his farms. How do you approach family that you were helping set up a tank that rushed over and stocked it with puke gravel goldfish a day after you left? Smile. Smile. Just it's their tank. They get to screw it up. It's their choice. Abolish farms. Chevy told me to put my comment back up, so I did. Thank you, Chevy. Chris Trap, guppy grass, deep substrate and plants, feeding frozen bloodworms, excellent. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you want to do it 10% a week, that'll help if you want to get them breeding. The main thing is to get her egged up. And feeding the frozen bloodworms, you can feed twice a day while you're trying to get them up. Chris Trapp, Abolish Farm show up with bags of sand. Right. James, Cubica lure guy. It's about how I move my breeders. Keep an eye on ammonia levels. Do water changes accordingly. Feed my breeders once a day. Certainly adequate. Guppy grass. Can you over-oxygenate a fish tank? Now that's an interesting question. Stephen will let you deal with this. Nothing wrong with that advice, Chevy Fish. Stephen says. So we're just saying, if you doesn't have water movement or air stone, the neutralizer will pull oxygen out even more. Not a long effect, but it happens. Salt and lowering temp by 2 degrees can help. Over-oxygenate. The water cannot super-oxygenate. The more O2 that's in the water, the easier it's going to be for the fish to breathe. And Stephen says that's a step I would have suggested myself. I'm sure talking about Chevy's suggestion. Guppy grass, only feeding once a day and they're laying eggs. T-Bone hates to see animals in distress. Chris, yes, sad to see that, Angel. Put it over the sand. Abolish farm, so know what it's referring to. Officially, oxygenation will show up as bubbles in the fins, and some say Popeye can result. Over-oxygenation. Officially says, I don't think so. Stephen, you want to chime in on this? Talking about over-oxygenation. You can. Super rare. Takes a lot. Depends on the fish. Some gillifet can handle high rates. Some cannot. Interesting. Never had it happen. I wouldn't even know how to make it happen. James says almost impossible to over-oxygenate. Brad, we should celebrate Pooty for coming forward and asking for help and sharing his situation. It shows he cares about his fish and wants to do right. Amen to that. Amen to that, Brad. Yeah, and Pooty, please keep us posted. Let us know what's going on and what you've been able to do and how it's working out for you. So very much appreciate your coming up. Do not feel awkward about that in any way. We're happy to be able to help and or know what it's like to have something like that and just to be panicked by it. So fortunately we were here and hopefully our advice has been helpful. Again, I think if you can get that other angel out of there and move it over to the other tank, and while you're at it, go ahead and refill that tank. But get the fish moved first. Get them moved instantly. Move the other angel over. You might even move the other fish if they're gonna, if they're showing any stress at all, and then refill that other tank. Then you can do a major water change on the problem tank and change out the canister. Guppy Grass learned something new today. Yeah, Brad says we don't want anyone feeling nervous about sharing a problem with us. You bet. We all have it. It happens to all of us. It's happened to me more than any of you. I guarantee it. Yeah. Oh, fishy. Reference a master volume of aquariology. Number 1. Interesting. Never ran into it. Wouldn't even know how to do it. T-Bone, Stephen, I've gone through 3 bettas in 5 months. No problems with my other fish, just the bettas. Could very well be the strain of bettas. See if Stephen can help you with that, T-Bone. Officially, I'm not familiar with the master volume of aquariology. Can you post the particulars on that? I'd like to buy it. Is it available? Do you know? Is it still in print or otherwise available? Let me look at. Let me see if I can find it. See if it's on Amazon. No. What's available is this new motherboard. Technology Hitters Repair Kit. A book. Let's see. Let's call it a book. Not finding. Are you pulling our leg there? Officially, Is this something you've written? What is that? Let's see. Got CO2 running in my dirt tank. How many hours of light? Been running around 10. Yeah, 10's good. How's it going? I mean, what's happening? Are you getting plant growth? Algae? What's going on? Yeah, JN Aquarium makes the point that people get nervous about asking due to the lashing they receive on platforms like Facebook, because everyone with a Facebook account is a master aquarium keeper. Yeah, right, exactly. A lot of 12-year-olds on Facebook who are world-renowned experts in everything. It's important to acknowledge that and to treat it accordingly. Patrick Murphy, would it not be recommended to put a betta in a 2.5 gallon? It's a double negative assumed, and I don't understand the question. I keep my bettas in 2.5. I think is optimal for a betta. That's a pretty good sized tank for a betta. Would it not be recommended? Yes, it is recommended to put a betta in a 2.5 gallon. I would say so. Officially, running too many power heads. Interesting. Stephen, KH and GH. Depends on where they come from. Change of water conditions may be causing their organs to fail. That they all come from the same source. And James said, don't forget to heat the betta. Yeah, good question. Rare Bookseller Store or eBay. Tetra Press. Interesting. I gotta find it. I've never seen it. Maple Street is here. Hello, hello. Nice to see you. Good to have you with us. We'll see you Friday evening. All right, we're down to the wire here. We are. I think we'll call it a day. I've got something funny running. Let's see. Let me go back. Let's play this again. Actually, let's just continue it. This is well, here we go. Boys and girls, nice to be with you all. Great to have you here. We will see you tomorrow morning. Hello. Yeah. Goodness gracious, Terry. How are you? Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.